the, like I say, the world in which Lost Girls happens is pretty much our world, with a couple of little flourishes, you know, around the edges. It could have happened in our world, you know. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen all takes place in this kind of world that is like a grand unified field theorem of fiction, where all the stories actually happened. Some of them, the more famous ones, their authors are known as well, but Shakespeare is regarded as the great biographer, and so is Cervantes, you know, and so is Conan Doyle, presumably, you know. So, no, I don't think that our Lost Girls do hang out with J.M. Barrie in some kind. It's a nice idea, I suppose. They'd probably frighten him.
Yes.
You know?
But I mean, at the same time, thinking of your ideas of idea space and how perhaps events that happen in this sort of shared universe leak into our world, if only as inspiration for writers, perhaps.
Sure.
You have these full-page illustrations, these brilliant full-page illustrations by Melinda, where you show iconic scenes from the three novels, but sexualised. So it's kind of like the halfway house between the two.
Yeah, it was sort of, I mean,
they're fantasies, obviously.
Yeah, we kind of, we've got those planned at the very beginning, these big silent pages that would just be an image, that would be a key image from one of those books, but sexualised. Some of my favourite images in the books, I mean, the two most telling ones, I think, are in the last book, where you've got the two pages which me and Melinda referred to as the Pussy Gator and the Jabbercock, where we've got these. I mean, they were horrific pages in some way, and the first reaction of everybody to them is to laugh, because they're so absurd, and in some ways they sum up each gender's fears about the other one. This sort of vagina dentata in the Wendy chapter, which it was a great visual metaphor, the way that this paedophile figure, this Captain Hook figure, is kind of swallowed by adult womanhood, the thing that he fears. And I found out recently that apparently some people who are actually working with paedophiles say that, well, actually it's a misnomer. They're not lovers of children, they're frightened of adults and adult relationships. It's more, they're more reacting, it's more a thing of control. They feel that they're out of control of their lives, that larger forces control them. The only place that they feel safe to put their sexuality is in children. You know, probably the same thing would apply with any other kind of helpless individual. It's sort of, so I think that a lot of the things that just we intuited in the course of Lost Girls, I think that they could have some basis in psychological reality. We even heard about a couple of young women who had themselves been sexually abused when they were children. And they were having Lost Girls explained to them by a friend. And she'd said, well, basically, it's these women and the things that have happened to them in their younger days, or whatever, they have turned it into a kind of compensatory fantasy. They distanced themselves from it by making it into a fantasy. And both of these women who'd actually suffered sexual abuse said, well, that's exactly what I did. So I guess that must be a fairly common thing. And I say, it seems that our instincts were right on that one.
Cool. So that I can work our videographer's favourite work of yours into the script. The you that wrote V for Vendetta was obviously an angrier young man than the you who wrote Lost Girls, because that presents a possible future as a dystopia, but one where there's hope at the end, while with Lost Girls presents the past as a utopia, but then ends with a bit of despair as, you know, the real world encroaches on it.
And it also does end with a poppy in the last panel, which kind of symbolises, I mean, it's been used to symbolise the imagination, the opium that Alice indulges in, the poppy field where where Dorothy has her encounter with the farm labourers, and in the original Wizard of Oz, the poppy field where Dorothy is lulled to sleep. So using that as a symbol in the last panel, it kind of suggests that yes, this is pretty awful. But even in the midst of all this, even in the midst of all this carnage, the imagination, it does flourish, it does grow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say that if anything, I am angrier now than when I wrote V for Vendetta, and I'm smarter. It's sort of, and I don't think that it is, I don't think that it's at the time, back when I did V for Vendetta, there was a point in shouting fire. You know, now civil burning down around our ears, and it's probably not the most helpful thing to shout. I think that what you need to try and supply to people is, as I tried to do in V for Vendetta as well to a certain extent, it's point out the exits. Try and point out the fire exits to your readership. Try and give them some way out. Never abandon your readers in the middle of a hellish train of thought. You know, so Melinda said that when she first read Watchmen before she met me, and she thought, this is really gripping, I hope this is not going to end really, really horribly, because, and it didn't. It sort of, it wasn't the bleak, you know, complete end of the world that she'd been expecting. It was different. And your readers have to be able to trust you, that you're not going to do something to them that is absolutely unbearable. Even though I suspect that at various points during From Hell, probably most of my readership had cause for doubt. You know?
In terms of Lost Girls reaching a wider audience, I mean, obviously it's a fairly, you know, select group who will buy it because A, it is pornography and you're not embarrassed about saying it is, otherwise, you know, other people would package it as erotica, but you diffuse that argument.
Absolutely.
I've not seen the episode of The Simpsons that you're in, but I saw a screen grab from it, and you're sitting in front of a poster for Lost Girls.
Lost Girls.
So I was amused
Drawn
that
in
you got an
Matt
advert.
Groening style. How cool is that? Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that, and yeah, it was pretty cool to have that poster up on the wall, which is actually an image from Lost Girls, but redrawn.
Okay.
And they've done a really great job of it, you know. Well, the characters are yellow and have got 3 fingers, but other than that, you know, it's sort of, that's got to be somebody's turn on, doesn't it? You know. But yeah, you know, I think that the important thing about The Simpsons is that now everybody knows, firstly, just what a incredible rippling physique I have under these clothes, and secondly, that I can fly. You know, these are aspects. Yeah, well, these are aspects of my being that I've never sort of emphasised them too much, you know, but it's things that people should know. You know.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure. Good day, my name's Alan Moore, and whenever I'm in London, I like to chill with Ollie and his homeboys down at the London Underground comic store in Camden.